I can buy everything, Amanda, except your shameful grades. How is it possible that my daughter, heir to all this fortune, is the worst student in the class?" Victoria, the millionaire, shouted as the young woman lowered her eyes in silence. The kitchen clock struck 6:30 a.m. when the Collins mansion was already buzzing. Staff circulated silently, careful not to disturb the lady of the house's impeccable routine. Luxury shone in every detail. The marble staircase reflected the golden light of the Beverly Hills sun, and the crystal chandeliers seemed to turn on by themselves. In the dining room, Victoria Collins sipped her black coffee, leafing through reports with the same coolness with which she signed million-dollar checks. She wore a blue silk robe, her hair tied in a neat bun. Her cell phone rested beside her, connected to speakerphone. "I want the Houston branch numbers on my desk by noon. No excuses." A voice on the other end tried to argue. "Ms. Collins, we might need another week," Victoria interrupted mercilessly. "A week? I built this empire without waiting for incompetence. Either deliver on time or get another job." She ended the call, picked up her cup, and murmured to herself, "Perfection isn't something you ask for. It's something you demand." That was Victoria. Controlling, demanding, always worried about her image. In her world, failure was not an option. Upstairs, Amanda Collins, 17, was getting ready for school. Her vanity was covered in expensive makeup, but the mirror reflected only insecurity. With her brown hair loose and her uniform wrinkled, she tried to convince herself that today would be different. He pulled on his backpack and looked at the report card hidden inside. His hands were shaking. "If I could just make this paper disappear, Mom would never have to see it," he murmured. She took a deep breath, but a tear escaped. Her mind echoed the memory of her mother saying the night before, "The daughter of the richest woman in town can't be the worst student in the class." Amanda wiped her face hurriedly. "I'll get better. I just need a chance," she whispered to herself. Meanwhile, Claire Bennett, the maid, had been working since early morning. At 38, with her simple blue uniform and her hair tied in a bun, she was a constant but nearly invisible presence in the mansion. She had arrived after 2 crowded buses and a long walk to the iron gates. "Good morning, Claire," the security guard greeted, opening the gate. She smiled, even though she was tired. "Good morning. How is your daughter?" "Growing up too fast. And Noah?" "Me too. He's already giving me trouble at 10 years old," she replied tenderly. In the mansion, Claire knew every detail. The chandelier that always collected dust, the glass in the hallway that easily stained, the rugs that needed to be brushed in the right direction. But more than that, she knew the silences of the house. At 3 p.m., Amanda returned from school. The driver opened the car door, but she got out slowly, head down. She entered the dining room, where Victoria was waiting for her with her arms crossed. "Show me the report card," her mother ordered. Amanda hesitated. "Mom, I studied. I swear I tried hard." Victoria held out her hand impatiently. "Amanda, don't waste my time." With trembling hands, Amanda handed over the paper. Victoria scanned the lines and suddenly raised her voice. "Another F? Amanda, this is a scandal. Do you know what people will say when they find out the Collins Hotel's heiress can barely pass?" Amanda cried. I'm not stupid, Mom. I can't learn this way." "Excuses. Always excuses. You're a disappointment," Victoria shouted, rising from her chair. The scene echoed through the hallway. Claire, who was cleaning the stairs, stopped, listening to every word. As Amanda ran past, eyes brimming with tears, Claire approached gently. "It's going to be okay, honey," she said quietly, almost like a secret. Amanda wiped away her tears without looking at her, just shaking her head, and he entered his room in tears. Suddenly, Amanda's phone vibrated 3 times in a row, as if the world were trying to wake her up. She was sitting on the soft carpet in her bedroom, her backpack still on the floor, The screen illuminated her tear-streaked face. From academic coordinator, Westwood High subject, urgent performance notice. If you fail the next exam, you will be expelled. Amanda reread it slowly, as if each word weighed heavily. Expelled. I'm going to be expelled, she whispered, her voice almost broken. Her chest tightened. The room, huge and beautiful, shrank. The walls, decorated with modern paintings, seemed distant. She put down the phone and held her head in both hands. Her heart beat loudly, so loudly it seemed to be marking time. Thump, thump, thump. Outside, the hallway was silent. A gust of wind stirred the curtain, and the golden sunlight became a streak on the carpet. Amanda hugged her knees. I messed up. Mum's going to kill me. Everyone's going to laugh, she repeated, like a broken record. Knock, knock. A light knock on the door. Amanda, can I come in? The voice was soft, hesitant, almost a plea. Claire. Amanda turned her face to the wall, wiping her tears with her sleeve. No, leave me alone. Claire stood there for a few seconds, unsure whether to insist. Then she took a step back, slowly closing the door. The school's message was still lingering in Amanda's head when she decided to study alone. She locked her bedroom door, turned off notifications, and spread her books out on her bed. The digital clock flashed 10:14 p.m. On her laptop, a math tutorial video played at 0.75 speed. You can do it. Focus, she whispered to herself. She tried to solve the first list. Her pen trembled. Quadratic equation. Easy, she lied. She wrote 2 lines, erased 3. She did it again, erased again. The paper turned into a grey blur. Why does my brain freeze? She opened another tab, searched for how to study for a test in 2 weeks, made a makeshift schedule, and stuck post-its on the wall. Within 10 minutes, she was already looking for the wrong content. Within 15, she lost her nerve. Midnight struck. The enormous room seemed too small for so much anxiety. Amanda tried a breathing technique she'd seen online, but her heart wouldn't listen. Come on, Amanda. Just one more exercise. She tried, failed, tried, failed again. The eraser ripped the page. She threw the notebook on the floor, sat on the rug, and covered her face with her hands. From the hallway, light footsteps sounded. Claire's shadow paused in front of the closed door, as if listening to a silent plea. But Amanda didn't call out. Silence prevailed. The next day, Westwood High was noisy. Lockers banged, laughter in the hallway, stories from the weekend. Amanda walked by with her head down, hugging her books like a shield. 3 senior girls, impeccable nails, expensive perfume, whispered loudly on purpose. Look there, the heiress. Heiress with 0 IQ. Laughter. One of them, the sharpest, threw the comment like a knife. The city's dumb princess. The sentence cut through the air. Amanda pretended not to hear, but her face heated. In the metallic reflection of the locker, she saw her eyes shining with embarrassment. In the library, she sat at a secluded table and opened her notebook with her exercises scribbled on it. She tried to concentrate, but 2 tables back, a group was openly commenting. They say you'll be expelled if you fail. Seriously? My mum works with her mum. She seems furious. Imagine having everything and not being able to pass a test. More laughter. Whispers that sounded like a megaphone. The math teacher entered discreetly, leaving a stack of practice tests on the librarian's desk. Seeing Amanda, he approached her. Amanda, do you want to review list 3 after class? She swallowed hard. She wanted to say yes. Her voice was hoarse. Not today, sir. I already have plans. Okay. I'll be here. He left. She lied to herself. You can do it yourself. In class, the torture continued. The teacher wrote on the board, complete the squares. The class followed along. Amanda froze. Her pencil paused in mid-air while her classmates confidently answered, Who can solve number 4? A boy raised his hand. Me? Perfect answer. Applause. The classmate next to her whispered, "Easy, right." Amanda forced a smile that hurt. At lunch, plastic trays, burgers, and gossip. She sat in a corner. Her phone dinged. A notification from an anonymous Instagram profile, a meme with a crooked crown and the caption, "Princess Collins looking for the missing note." Her heart dropped to her stomach. The conversation at the next table grew louder. "Did you see? They posted it again." "Cruel but funny." Amanda lowered her head. "Breathe, breathe." She got up to leave. Her knee hit the bench. The tray slipped. The juice glass tipped over on her uniform. "Hey, watch out!" More laughter. She ran to the bathroom, locked the stall door, and held back her tears like a dam. In the late afternoon, the Collins mansion gleamed as always. Entering it felt like walking through a magazine advertisement, meticulously manicured gardens, the scent of expensive flowers, impeccable glass. Amanda climbed the stairs with weary steps. The housekeeper tried to smile. She didn't see it. In the living room, Victoria sat waiting for her, legs crossed, a huge tablet in her hand. The TV was tuned to a finance channel, muted. "Sit down," she said, not looking. Amanda sat on the edge of the sofa. Victoria slid her finger across the tablet, opening a file. The title, in cold letters, "Contingency Plan, Amanda Collins." "I've had calls from the school," she began, "and messages from mothers who, unlike me, don't like to be blindsided by rumors." "Mom, I'm trying," Amanda said, almost in a whisper. Victoria looked up, hard. "Trying is a common word. We're not common." Heavy silence. Victoria changed her tone, lower, more cutting. "If you fail again, forget your inheritance." The sentence hung in the air, taller than the chandelier. Amanda blinked, as if her entire body gasping for air. "What?" "I've already informed the lawyer. If you fail, I'll lose confidence in your ability to take charge of what's ours. The fund in your name will be redirected to worthwhile projects. I wouldn't fund mediocrity even if it was someone else's daughter. Why would I fund mine?" Amanda, her voice breaking. "Mom, please." "Enough. I won't raise a weak adult. You have two options. Prove to me that you deserve the Collins name, or find your own way without it." "I'm scared." Scared is an expensive excuse. The hallway door made a soft creak. Claire stopped in the doorway, invisible as always. She heard enough to understand the weight bearing down on Amanda. She lowered her eyes and took a step back, respecting the space. But her heart ached. Victoria closed her tablet and stood. "Starting today. Private tutoring every day. I already had the secretary schedule it." Amanda wiped away a tear. I don't want a stranger. I just need a way that works for me." "You need results," Victoria cut in. "And fast." The conversation ended with a verdict. Amanda climbed the stairs, her legs feeling shaky. In the hallway, she passed Claire, who whispered, "Anything." "I'm here." Amanda shook her head in a barely perceptible no, and went into her room, locking herself in. From the outside, the house remained perfect. Inside, the pressure was building like a storm on the glass. At school, laughter and memes. At home, threats and deadlines. And Amanda was in the middle, squeezed between two worlds that had no room for her mistake or her fear. Night fell heavily over Beverly Hills, and Amanda's room looked like a war zone. Open books, crumpled pages, crooked post-its. A dead calculator. She cried, hunched over her notebook, tears dripping and staining the ink. The lamp cast a warm circle of light that didn't reach the rest of the world. The door opened slowly. Claire entered silently, clutching a dust rag she'd forgotten to put down when she heard the crying. "Amanda!" The girl didn't lift her head. "I can't. I try, but I just can't." Claire looked at the table, scattered numbers, scratched out formulas, nervous scribbles. She gently pulled out her chair and sat down next to him, as if asking permission without speaking. "Can I show you something?" Amanda sniffed. "If it's another rule, I can't handle it." It's not a rule. Claire smiled slightly. It's a shortcut. She pulled a white pad and a blue pen from her apron pocket. She placed her hands down, breathing calmly, and began to draw. First, a large circle, then 4 arrows shooting out from it like lightning bolts. At each end, she wrote a simple word and drew a childlike picture. Question, a question mark with eyes. Dice, a small cup full of balls. Operate, 2 gears. Check, 1 eye open. Then she traced a colourful map with markers she pulled from her apron. Yellow, green, pink. She connected ideas with curved arrows, surrounded terms with clouds, and drew boxes for steps. In the center, she wrote quadratic equation and drew a balance sheet on one side, x to x, 2 to 2. On the other, bx plus cbx plus c. Amanda blinked, confused. What is this? Claire pointed patiently. It's the way I learned my secret. The girl frowned. Secret? My brain remembers images, not just words. So I translate everything into drawings. First, I ask what the question really wants. Claire touched the question mark. Oh, then I gather the data as if I were gathering ingredients in the kitchen. She indicated the cup. Then I operate. I mix, stir, see what reacts. She touched the gears. Finally, I check. Was the dish edible? Does the result make sense? The eye. Amanda let out a broken half-laugh. You turned math into... Cooking into history, Claire corrected, crossing out another sheet. We remember stories. She drew a triangle with the vertices beginning, organize, middle, solve, end, check, then colored the middle with stripes, like a road. Every question is a mini-trip. We need a map. But what about the formula? Amanda pointed fearfully. Claire nodded. It comes, only it comes after the map, not before. She wrote, X2 B plus B2 4AC2 X, Leo frac Geo B PM Scott X2A B plus B2 4AC, and next to it, she drew a bridge. The formula is a bridge. Before it, we need to know where we are and where we're going. Amanda wiped her face with her sleeve. She looked at the paper as if looking at a newly opened window. I've never seen anyone explain it like that. Because they taught you how to decorate bricks. I'd rather show you the house. Claire spun the block and proposed a simple, almost childish example. X2, 5p plus 0x2, 5x plus 6, bas 02, 5x slow 6, 0. She drew 2 puzzles with the pieces 6 and 5. What multiplied equals 6 and added equals 5? Amanda blinked rapidly. 2 and 3. Great. So your story divides into 2 chapters, X2 and X3. Happy ending, X over 2 or X over 3. She made 2 balloons with the numbers 2 and 3 smiling. Amanda bit her lip in surprise. Wait, that made sense. It's not a miracle. Just organize your fear before the numbers. Claire then took another sheet of paper and drew a large traffic light, green. Take 3 deep breaths and write the map of the question. Yellow, choose the bridge. Factorize, complete the square, formula. Red, check the result carefully. Amanda watched everything, her eyes still moist, but now alert. What if I crash right away? Claire drew a small nest next to the traffic light and wrote, landing phrase. Would you'll whisper to yourself, map first, bridge later, it grounds the mind. The girl let out a breath that seemed to have been trapped for days. Can I try again? You can, and you will. Amanda led an exercise, and Claire guided her in short steps, always with a drawing. A cloud for the data, an arrow for the goal, a bridge for the technique. In a few minutes, one mistake became a success, and another, and another. Amanda's eyes widened. I hit 3 in a row. You saw. I saw. The word came out firm, new. For a moment, only the sound of the lamp and the scratching of a pen filled the room. Then, from the hallway, a high heel hit the marble. Knock, knock, Knock. Amanda and Claire exchanged a quick glance. Claire turned the pad and, in a corner of the page, drew an open padlock. Amanda whispered, "What is this?" Claire blinked knowingly. "Just remember, the door was never locked. It was just dark." Amanda held the paper carefully, as if it were fragile and precious. For the first time, the enormous room seemed to fit inside her, and not the other way around. "Claire, thank you. Keep this map. We'll draw another one tomorrow." Amanda's smile wasn't big, but she had the courage of someone who discovered a path. There, in the colourful strokes of a simple sheet of paper, the invisible woman had just changed the game. The room was quieter. The lamp cast a warm light on the table, where Claire's map still glowed in simple colours. Amanda was breathing easier, but her eyes remained moist. Claire gathered up her pens, put down her pad, and remained quiet for a few seconds, like someone deciding whether to cross a delicate bridge. "Amanda," the voice was low, "can I tell you why I know you can get out of the dark?" The girl nodded curiously. Claire looked down at her work-scarred hands, then slowly raised her gaze. There was a restrained, heavy yet calm glow. "Before I was a maid, I was a literature teacher," she said, with a smile that mixed pride and longing. "University of Wisconsin. I lived inside books, from room to room, speaking of metaphors as if they were fires to warm tired people." Amanda blinked, genuinely surprised. "You teacher? Really?" A short laugh. "I'd quote Emily Dickinson in the hallway, and my students would pretend they didn't like it, but they'd come back with the poems scribbled out." Claire took a deep breath, her voice growing hoarse. "But I lost everything when my husband died." Silence. The sound of the air conditioning seemed louder. An accident on the road, a truck, rain, and suddenly my life became an empty room. Amanda clapped her hand over her mouth. I didn't know. Almost no one knows." Claire adjusted her bun, an automatic gesture to contain her emotions. "I had Noah when he was 3 years old and a salary that barely covered the rent after hospital bills. 2 months and the bills piled up. The university restructured the department. Cuts. My contract was wasted, and I became a mother who needs a job yesterday." Claire gave a half-smile, sincere and sad. "The cleaning appeared like a boat on a river I didn't choose, but it carried me forward. I learned new routes, crowded buses, thick uniforms, hands that crack in the cold. I traded chalk for cloth, the blackboard for a lamp." Amanda leaned forward in her chair, her eyes wide. "But why didn't you ever say?" "Because it doesn't change the way I sweep the floor," she replied softly. "And sometimes people listen better when you talk after you've listened." She picked up the pad and ran her finger over the open padlock. "I understand what it's like to enter a place that doesn't feel like yours. The first week here, I trembled holding this broom. I was afraid of breaking the expensive vase in the hall, afraid of using the wrong product on the marble, afraid of looking into your mother's eyes and her realizing I wasn't sleeping. Fear lessens when we name what we feel, and it grows when we pretend it doesn't exist." Amanda swallowed. "And you learned to study like this, with drawings." "I learned to teach like this," Claire chuckled softly. "When the pain hit, I discovered that my head could remember images even when my heart was heavy, so I turned everything into simple pictures. That's how I helped Noah with his reading. That's how I kept myself going. Each map was a way to breathe." She stared at Amanda, firm and sweet. "I don't see you as the richest woman's daughter. I see you as a smart girl trying to turn on the light in the middle of a dark hallway, and I know that hallway." It took Amanda a few seconds to find her voice. You lost the love of your life, lost your university, started from scratch, and yet you're here, calm, helping me." "I'm not calm every day," Claire confessed. "Jai, there are nights when I look at the ceiling and talk to God as if he were in the armchair, but I discovered something I wouldn't trade for anything. Dignity doesn't depend on position. It depends on how we get through the pain." Bridge with her fingertip. I thought you just cleaned it. Sorry, that sounded awful. It didn't. A lot of people only see what shines. It's human, but you have a whole world inside you, and so do you. Claire smiled with her eyes. It's just dust on top. Amanda took a deep breath, as if filling her lungs with a new place. Claire, why did you stay? You could have been in school. I stayed because Noah needed stability, because this job came along when everything fell apart. And because, even while cleaning, I continued teaching anyone who wanted to learn. She lightly touched Amanda's hand. You're not a scandal. You're tired, scared, and without a map. Now you have one, and you have someone to walk beside you. Amanda's eyes filled again, but this time they were hot tears, not of shame, of recognition. I'm in shock, and so grateful. Just the gratitude part, Claire said, laughing tenderly. The shock will wear off. From the hallway, a distant noise reminded her of a world outside. Schedules, deadlines, demands. Inside, under the yellowed lampshade, two lives touched through simple, truthful words. Claire's past was no excuse. It was ground, and on that ground Amanda began to believe she, too, could stand. On day tomorrow after school, we'll continue the map. We'll continue, Claire replied, discreetly wiping away a tear that was stubbornly appearing. And tonight you'll go to sleep, knowing you're not alone, Amanda nodded, hugging the notebook as if it were a rare book. For the first time, her story didn't seem written by other hands. From that night on, a silent pact was born. Claire would always enter the room after the house had quieted down, when Victoria's heels no longer echoed on the marble and silence filled the mansion. Amanda would leave the door ajar, a lamp on, and her notebooks on the table. Quick, before anyone sees, Amanda whispered. Claire chuckled softly. Looks like we're up to some spy secret. During the meetings, Claire transformed each topic into simple images. A timeline became a road with colorful signs. A poem became a bridge of feelings. Even algebra problems received drawings of kitchens, trips, or small paper theaters. Amanda, growing more confident, repeated the exercises aloud. First, map, then bridge. Finally, check. Claire clapped her hands softly. See? You're not stupid. You just needed another language. Deep down, Amanda felt something new. Someone believed in her. For the first time, it wasn't a demand, it wasn't a threat, it wasn't humiliation. It was an invitation, a gesture of trust. And, night after night, between books, drawings, and complicit whispers, a bond was born that would change everything. A secret that grew hidden behind the closed doors of the mansion. The mansion was asleep early the day before the exam. Almost. In Millionaire'S room, the lamp cast a circle of light over the new map. Blue arrows, green boxes, a traffic light drawn in the corner. Claire guided softly. Remember, map first, bridge later. Amanda repeated firmly. Map first, bridge later. In the hallway, a sharp click of heels. Knock, knock, knock. The two looked at each other. Amanda whispered, "It must be the housekeeper." Claire instinctively picked up her pen, trying to make herself smaller in the chair. The doorknob turned. The door swung open. Victoria emerged, impeccably dressed, her face tense, her eyes icy. The scene froze in the yellow light, the daughter with her notebooks, the maid with her sketchbook. "What's going on here?" The voice came low, dangerous. Amanda stood up quickly. "Mom, I can explain." Victoria didn't even look at her daughter. She stared at Claire as if examining a flaw in marble. "You're letting a maid teach you. Ridiculous." The silence cracked like glass. Amanda blushed. "Mom, Claire, she's helping me. I finally understand." "Shut up, Amanda," Victoria snapped, never taking her eyes off Claire. "And you, come down now. You're forbidden from entering my daughter's room." Claire took a deep breath, keeping her cool. "Mrs. Collins, I just..." Don't call me ma'am like we're friends. You work here to clean, not to educate. Claire bit back her reply. Amanda took a step forward. It was my idea. I asked her. The fact that it was your idea makes it worse, Victoria shot back. You have tutors with expensive degrees at your disposal, and you choose to be trained by someone without qualifications. Claire clutched the pad to her chest. With all due respect, qualifications aren't just paper. Victoria arched an eyebrow. And what are they? Children's drawings. She picked up a sheet of paper from the table, the traffic light, and laughed through her nose. Is this the methodology that's going to save you, Amanda? Doodles. Amanda snatched the sheet from her mother's hand, trembling. It's what works for me. Victoria approached her daughter sternly. What works is discipline, not colourful theatre. You will take the test tomorrow with a clear head, without interference. From today on, Claire won't come near you. Understand? Amanda tried to keep her voice steady. I'm not firing Claire. You're not in charge here, Victoria snapped. Claire, your hours will be restricted to the ground floor. Any violation and you're fired for cause. Claire took a step back, but didn't look down. I understand the rules. Amanda turned to her, desperate. No. Claire, please stay. Tomorrow I have the test. Victoria held up her hand, closing the subject. This conversation is over. The mother turned to leave her, but Claire spoke calmly. Mrs. Collins. Victoria stopped, not looking. 1 minute, silence. The lamp buzzed. I'm not going to argue with... Just a minute, Claire repeated calmly. I came in here because I saw a girl sinking and I reached out. I don't take anyone's place. I just turn on a light. Victoria turned her face impatiently. Light. The light my daughter needs can be bought from real teachers. Sometimes the light that saves is a simple bulb, Claire said, pointing to the lamp. And it was here. Amanda held back tears, but her voice was firm. Mom, I learned from her. I figured it out. She learned to waste time, Victoria countered. Final warning. It's over. Claire, out. Claire nodded slowly, her heart sinking. She placed the pad on the table as if laying down a flag. I'll respect that. She walked to the door. As she passed Amanda, she whispered, almost soundlessly, You have the map. Amanda clutched the sheet tightly, as if holding onto a rope over a cliff. Victoria left first, her heels clicking in time with the order. Claire followed, her steps light but heavy with worry. The door closed. The room grew smaller. Amanda fell to her feet on the bed, breathing shallowly. The echo of the word ridiculous throbbed. She picked up the paper traffic light, smoothed out the crumpled edges, and repeated in a whisper, Map first, bridge later. Outside, the house returned to its impeccable silence. In the hallway, Claire leaned against the wall for a second, eyes closed, as if holding back a tear and a decision. Then she went downstairs, invisible as always. The next second, her phone buzzed. A message from the school group, a new meme, a crooked crown, again, and the caption, Tomorrow is Princess Embarrassment Day. Amanda closed her eyes, letting anger warm her fear. I'm not ridiculous, she said to the void. I am not. She stood up. She turned off the lamp for a moment, letting the room plunge into darkness. Then she turned it back on. The ordinary light illuminated the open padlock Claire had drawn on the edge of the paper. Amanda gave a sad half-smile. I have the map. He pushed his books aside and picked up blank sheets. At the top, he wrote, Test, tomorrow. He took 3 deep breaths, counting on his fingers, as Claire had taught him. Then he drew a circle in the center and scribbled inside. What does the question ask? From the edges, a garden of arrows grew. Data, technique, check, traps. Each word had a drawing, a cup of dots. Data, a bridge, technique, an eye, check, a traffic cone, traps. So he grabbed his phone and opened the playlist. He created a new one, Formula in Music. He chose a simple beat and started recording on the voice recorder, B squared minus 4ac. Everything under 2a. He stopped, laughed at his own voice, and re-recorded it in a sing-song rhythm. B squared, 4ac, root to the ceiling, 2a to the foot. He repeated softly, almost singing to his pillow. The formula, which always sounded like a wall, became a chorus. He stuck post-its on the back of the closet door, where no one was looking. Breathe. Map first. Bridge later. Check. Landing phrase. I control my fear. It was after 2 when she closed her eyes. She fell asleep, hugging the notebook. Without realizing it, she smiled. Test morning. The Los Angeles sky was cloudless, but inside the car, the air felt heavy. The driver said something about traffic. Amanda could only see the passing signs. At each stoplight, he played the chorus softly, barely moving his lips. B squared is 4ca. The driver glanced in the mirror. Are you ready, miss? Amanda swallowed. I am, more so than yesterday. At Westwood High, the hallways resembled a ring. Groups whispered. One boy mimed a crooked crown on his head. She heard him and walked straight past. There was no hidden cheat sheet in his backpack, just a pencil, an eraser, and a map in his memory. In the library, before the bell, he opened his notebook and wrote in the corner of a sheet, Breathe, 3 keks. Then he made a quick, complete the square map. He drew an open-topped box, x2 plus bx, with half of the b falling inside, the other half landing, and finally, the box becoming a perfect square. Half, square, add and subtract, he repeated, tapping his finger in time to the music. Her colleague Maya walked past and whispered, Amanda, want some last-minute help? She took a breath and smiled briefly. Thanks, I can do it. I just need to remember my map. Map? Long story. The bell rang. The room was cold. The desks lined up. The clock overhead read 9. The teacher handed out the tests. Amanda felt her stomach turn, but she placed her feet flat on the floor, as Claire had instructed. Anchor. Hands visible on the table. 1 breath, 2, 3, map first, she whispered, and she opened her sketchbook. Question 1. Old Panic took a step forward and stopped. Amanda drew a small circle in the corner and wrote, Goal. Then she surrounded the dice with a cloud. She looked for the bridge. Factoring. She drew 2 puzzle pieces. Multiplying makes 12, adding makes 7. The answer leaped out effortlessly. 3 and 4, she murmured, surprised at how easily it had worked. She factored, isolated, solved. She checked, returning the value. Sure enough, her heart beat at a less crazy pace. Next. Question 2. Complete the square. He drew the box, the half of B, closed the lid. She chuckled inside. It seemed like an animation in her head. She checked. Right. Question 3. Solving formula. Yesterday's meme tried to poke. Amanda sang softly inside. B squared. 4ac, root in the roof, 2a in the foot. Her fingers obeyed. When she realized, the calculation was clear as a summer sky. I understand, she thought, and the sentence came with a taste of victory. Beside her, a classmate sighed loudly, irritated. 2 rows back, someone asked for more paper. The teacher walked slowly, hands clasped. Time ticked by on the clock, but Amanda was no longer looking at her fear. She was looking at the path. Halfway through the test, the old anxiety tried to return. Her handwriting began to falter. She put down her pencil, closed her eyes for 3 seconds, and whispered soundlessly, landing phrase. Her hand resting on her chest felt the beat slow. She returned to the question. She drew a tiny traffic light on the draft. Green, yellow, red. Green, go. Yellow, choose technique. Red, check. She went. She chose. She checked. It worked. A question of interpretation fit with what she had learned in the room with Claire. To turn it into a story. Amanda read the problem out loud, exchanging numbers for images. A train leaves. She mentally drew a track. Another train comes in the opposite direction. She drew another line. Meet it. She made a glowing X. The calculation that had been just a formula became a scene. She solved it. Again, right. The clock read 10:17 when Amanda realized she was early. A pleasant chill ran down her spine. It wasn't rushing, it was flowing. She went back to the first questions to check. She found a wrong sign. She corrected it, without panic. Check saves, she heard Claire's calm voice inside her memory. Suddenly the door opened. Victoria appeared in the glass of the room, speaking to the coordinator down the hall. Amanda caught a glimpse of her. Straight posture, unreadable expression. Her heart threatened to skip a beat. I'm in charge of my fear, she thought firmly, looking back at the test, and she dove back into the map. The final minutes arrived, with the room in a thick silence. Pencils scratched, erasers slipped, eyes glued to the paper. Amanda put the final period on the draft of the last question, breathing a relief she'd never felt on a test. She raised her hand. Finished? The teacher asked. Yes, sir. Want to check again? She smiled confidently. I'm already on the green. As she handed in her test, Amanda's hands didn't shake. She walked firmly down the hallway, ignoring the stairs. She stopped in front of the glass, where the coordinator was talking to her mother. Victoria turned her head. The two stared at each other for a long second. Amanda didn't look away. It wasn't a challenge, it was peace. In the courtyard, with the sun beating down on her face, she pulled a hidden post-it note from her pocket, the smallest of them all. It bore only 3 words, scrawled in the wee hours, I can learn. Amanda pressed the paper between her fingers, as if holding invisible evidence, and for the first time her mind felt clear, not because the world had softened, but because a simple map showed the way. Back at the mansion, the afternoon passed in silence. Victoria was in meetings. Claire was cleaning the hall. When Amanda entered, the two pretended not to see each other for a second, out of prudence. Then, a tiny gesture. Amanda discreetly touched her coat pocket, signaling the post-it. Claire understood. How was it? She asked, barely moving her lips. Amanda responded in kind, whispering, I used the map. Claire's eyes shone, huge with suppressed pride. She didn't say, I knew. She just gave a smile that said it all. That night, Amanda didn't need a new drawing. She needed silence and a heartbeat that was just right. On her bedside table, she left Claire's notebook open to the padlock page. She turned out the light and could still see, from within, the bridge, the traffic light, the road. She slept, knowing that where panic once lived, now lived a path. The next morning dawned with clear skies and cool air. At Westwood High, the hallway was noisier than usual. Whispers carried like the wind. On the bulletin board, a new piece of paper pinned with thumbtacks caught the attention of a group of students. Move out of the way, Maya demanded, craning her neck. Their eyes scanned the grade list. A brief silence, and then the explosion. No! Seriously? There must be a mistake. Who's A. Collins at the top? Amanda walked slowly, her heart calm. She got closer and read her own name in first place. A 9.8, the highest of the semester. She held her breath, as if listening to her own heart skip a beat. She didn't cry. She just closed her eyes for a second and heard a familiar refrain inside. B squared. She smiled, remembering Claire's map and traffic lights. The principal's door opened. Mr. Henderson, the principal, appeared with an envelope and called out, Amanda Collins, please. She entered. The room smelled of coffee and fresh paper. There was a large window overlooking the gymnasium. Henderson pointed to the chair. Sit down, Amanda. She did as he was told. The principal looked at the papers, then at the girl with a tight smile. First of all, congratulations. Amanda bowed her head humbly. Thank you, sir. You didn't just pass. You got the highest grade of all the classes. A knock on the door interrupted her. The coordinator entered with a tablet. Mrs. Collins is here. She said you called for her. Henderson nodded. Send them in. Victoria appeared impeccably poised, tense, wearing a dark blazer and her usual expression, in control. She stopped when she saw her daughter inside. What happened? She asked bluntly. Henderson stood. Mrs. Collins, thank you for coming so quickly. I wanted to break the news in person. She frowned. Bad news should be emailed. I have a calendar. Then I'm glad this is a good one. The principal smiled and turned the monitor slightly so she could see the numbers. Your daughter got the highest grade of the semester. Time grew thick in the room. Victoria blinked twice, as if her brain needed to reach a new place. The highest? Yes, ma'am. 9.8. Exemplary performance. Precise organization. Clear drafts. Very mature strategies for her age. He looked at Amanda, genuinely proud. Here's the exam with the notes. Victoria picked up the paper carefully, as if holding something unfamiliar. She saw arrows on the sketch, small symbols in the corner, a circle, a bridge, a traffic light. She recognized the childish drawing she had dismissed. She swallowed hard. How? Her voice faltered for the first time. How did she do that? Amanda held her mother's gaze serenely. Studying my way? Alone, she breathed, with maps and stories and focus. Henderson intervened professionally. The important thing is that it worked. She changed the method and changed the results. That's what the school needs. Students who find their way. I'd like to publicly recognize this progress at Friday's assembly. Victoria didn't respond immediately. She looked at her daughter, then at the paper. Pride warred with her own. Congratulations, she finally said dryly but without venom. The coordinator smiled at Amanda. You saved the semester and inspired some teachers. Me? Yes. We'll ask you to describe your process to the guidance counselor. It might help other students. Amanda nodded, emotional but restrained. Can I thank someone? Henderson gestured with his hand. Of course. She didn't say a name. She just clutched the envelope to her chest and, in a vivid memory, saw the open padlock Claire had drawn. She closed her eyes for a moment and whispered, low enough to be hers alone. Thank you. In the hallway, the buzz grew louder as mother and daughter walked out side by side. The meme girls fawned over them with wry smiles. Wow, Amanda, you nailed it, one of them said, as if trying to mend a torn fabric. Amanda didn't respond, sarcastically. Thanks. She walked straight through calmly, without hurting anyone. Elegance is when victory doesn't require raising your voice. In the parking lot, Victoria slammed the key fob, still in silent shock. She got in, started the engine, but didn't get out. She stared straight ahead for a few seconds, taking a deep breath. The tallest, she repeated, as if testing a new truth. Amanda waited, without speaking. I didn't expect it. Me neither, until yesterday. Victoria turned her head, studying her daughter's profile. There was a firmness there she wasn't used to seeing. What changed? I stopped fighting the test and started talking to it. Talking to a test, Amanda smirked. Long story. Victoria's phone vibrated with work messages. She ignored them. The car was silent. Outside, students were rushing to lunch. Inside, a mother struggled to find the right word, and a daughter already knew it. Peace. Are you happy? Victoria asked, almost in a whisper. I am. Okay. Victoria adjusted the steering wheel, regaining her practical tone. Let's go. The mansion welcomed Amanda with the same impeccable shine as always, but nothing was the same. Claire was polishing the hall when she heard the door. She looked up and saw her enter, the envelope clutched to her chest. The world could have sworn it was just boss and employee sharing the same space. But there was a shared secret. Amanda stopped 2 steps away. She said nothing. Instead, she lifted the envelope and tapped it lightly on her heart. Twice. Claire understood. So, she ventured, a whisper of a voice. Amanda opened the envelope, pulled out the sheet and showed it with a restrained smile. 9.8 in round numbers, underlined by the teacher. Claire's eyes sparkled. There was no hug, Not yet, not there. Just a silent, "I knew it," spoken through her eyes, and a proud smile she tried to hide. From the top of the stairs, the sound of heels clicked. Victoria descended, stopping mid-step at the sight. She stood motionless for a few seconds, staring at the note in her daughter's hand. Then she looked at Claire. Words wouldn't come. Amanda broke the silence, sweet and firm. "Mom, it worked." Victoria breathed slowly. The world seemed to be asking her to make a decision that didn't fit the old mold. "I saw," she managed. Silence. Claire lowered her eyes. Amanda put the proof back in the envelope and, before climbing up, lightly rested her hand on the edge of the railing, remembering each night, each drawing, each map first, bridge later. In her room, alone, she stuck a new post-it note on the wall, right next to the traffic light. "Victory is method plus courage." She sat on the bed and laughed softly, without an audience. It wasn't a mocking laugh. It was the soft sound of someone crossing a bridge. Downstairs, Claire picked up the cloth again, but her hands were shaking with joy. Victoria stood for a moment on the second-to-last step, caught between two worlds, staring at her daughter's bedroom door, and, for the first time in a long time, speechless. Amanda closed her eyes and saw, as clear as yesterday, the open padlock. "Thank you, Claire," she said softly to the ceiling. A glint of light came from the hallway. The house was still the same, but inside, a place had lit up, one that no one could extinguish. The letter arrived on a clear morning, a thick envelope embossed with a coat of arms, and a glowing sender, prestigious university in Los Angeles. Amanda walked down the stairs in her socks, her heart in her throat. She stopped in the hallway, took a deep breath, and carefully tore it open. Her eyes ran over the lines, and then she cried out, laughing and crying at the same time. "I was accepted." The echo bounced off the marble and returned as music. Claire, who was polishing the banister, dropped the cloth without realizing it. "Will you?" Amanda ran and hugged her tightly, laughing. "Will you?" "I did it, Claire! We did it!" The two spun around in an awkward, beautiful embrace. Victoria appeared at the top of the stairs, frozen for a second, as if witnessing a miracle up close. She descended slowly. Her face, always so firm, seemed to search for the right word. "Let me see," he asked, almost in a whisper. Amanda handed over the letter. Victoria read it from cover to cover, her hand trembling slightly. She closed her eyes for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was clear, unarmored. "Congratulations, my daughter." Amanda bit her lip to keep from collapsing completely. "Thank you, Mom." Victoria took a deep breath, looked at Claire, and nodded slightly, as if asking permission to descend a difficult step. "Claire, can you stay a minute?" They went into the living room. Light streamed through the enormous windows and cast warm rectangles on the floor. Victoria placed the letter on the coffee table next to a bouquet of lilies. Her hands, which used to issue orders, now clasped together as if carrying a confession. "I messed up," he said, looking straight at Claire. "I messed up with my daughter. I messed up with you." Silent. The wall clock clicked shyly. Victoria continued, unapologetically. "I confused power with control, a degree with value, brilliance with character. And when I saw Amanda win, I also saw your drawings in the drafts. And I understood that the light I refused to accept was inside this house all along." Claire took a deep breath. Her eyes sparkled. "Mrs. Collins." Victoria interrupted her gently with her hand. "Victoria, today, please call me Victoria." She smiled in a new, humble way. "I want you to stay in our family, but not as a servant, as Amanda's tutor. I want you to teach in your own way. I want you to create a plan for future classes, for college, for life. If you accept, I'll adjust your contract, your salary, your schedule, and, if you want, you can set up a study room here with your maps, your colors, your style." Claire clapped her hand over her mouth. The sobs came hot, soft. I don't know what to say. Say yes, if it's fair, Victoria pleaded, her eyes moist. And let me mend some of what I've broken. Amanda took Claire's hands, squeezing lightly. Stay with us, please. Claire laughed tearfully, her bun already a little askew, her words stumbling with emotion. Yes, I do. Victoria closed her eyes in relief. When she opened them, there was a glow that wasn't like a medal. It was one of gratitude. Thank you, and sorry for everything. Apology accepted, Claire replied, still wiping her face. When do we start? Amanda laughing. Now. The three of them stood up. For the first time, they walked side by side toward the office that, in a few days, would become the study room. A large desk, a corkboard, boxes of colored pens, shelves filled with notebooks, a simple lamp, the life-saving lamp. Claire opened the pad and taped Amanda's favorite drawing to the wall, an open padlock. Victoria watched the scene in silence, then spoke, looking at her daughter. You showed me that strength isn't about shouting, it's about learning, and that intelligence isn't a trophy, it's a path. Amanda smiled, remembering the nights, the traffic lights, the silly formula song. Claire taught me how to turn on the light. Late in the afternoon, messages poured into the school group. Reactions, congratulations, gifts, hearts. Amanda replied with a simple "thank you" and closed her phone. She walked out into the garden with Claire. The Los Angeles sky was orange. What about Noah? Amanda asked, leaning against the railing. He'll be happy to know. Claire laughed, wiping her eyes for the 1,000th time. He'll say, we're an invincible duo. Victoria appeared in the doorway, shy as ever. Claire, then tell me what the supply list is for the classroom. And if you're up for it, I'd like to fund scholarships at Amanda's school for students who just need a map. Claire nodded, overcome with emotion. That changes lives. It changed mine, Amanda said, hugging them both at once. The mansion was the same, but now it had a new sound, that of Hope walking down the hallway in socks with colored pens in its pocket. And when night fell, the study remained lit, with a simple lamp illuminating maps, bridges and roads, reminding everyone that sometimes the greatest transformations begin with a hand-drawn drawing. End of history.